네, 첫 번째 기조 강연 우리 지텀 지지스님의 변화하는 노동시장에 대한 대응이라는 주제로 기조 강연을 또 들었습니다. 정책과 또 기업의 역할의 중요성을 또 강조해 주셨는데요. 다시 한번 기조 강연 잘 들었습니다. 이번에 두 번째로 또 기조 강연을 해주실 분을 모셔야겠습니다. IES의 수석 연구원이신 웬디 허쉬님께서 고용주와 근로자의 협업이라는 주제로 발표를 해 주시겠습니다. 앞으로 모시겠습니다. 박수로 맞이해 주십시오.
Good morning. It's amazing to be here in this huge room with such a diverse and exciting range of countries and with our Korean hosts, united by our interest in career development, something I've been working on all my working life. It's also thrilling for me and very funny if you are an English native speaker to be working on careers in Korea. Nobody who doesn't speak English will get that joke. But it's a life's dream of mine to be in Korea working on Korea. My topic is working with employers and employees. So I'm talking about the world of grown-ups, who are at work. That is where I spend my own working life. I hope what I say will be relevant to those of you working in public policy, but also the many people here who work in practice and those who teach career practitioners. When I'm speaking here, I am thinking about career development. That is how individuals manage their working lives, how they make choices, but also how they access both learning and work. And of course, for grown-ups, much of that learning is not in a university or in a school. It is in the workplace. Just because it isn't on a course doesn't mean it isn't learning. But I think sometimes we confuse career development with career guidance. For me, career guidance is important, but it's only a very small part of the business of career development, how we help people manage their working lives. And indeed, for working adults, certainly in my country, career guidance practitioners may as well be unicorns. They will never meet one. You know a unicorn, the fictitious horse with a horn? In a workplace, you are very unlikely to ever meet a career guidance practitioner. So your career development has to occur with a range of other people you will be working with. I'll come back to that later. I'd like to suggest a few things this morning. First of all, that we need to pay much more attention as countries and as workers in the field to the career development of adults who are in employment, employed adults. These are the huge numbers in our countries for whom public policy has almost nothing to say. Public policy in our field is directed very often at the young, for good reason, and also at the unemployed, or the people who are having great difficulty getting work. It thinks that people who have a job are okay because they're not costing the country anything. So from a policy perspective, they are the enormous neglected population. Why do I think we should pay more attention to them? Because they're a huge group. In my country, 70% of all 15 to 64-year-olds would be in that group. 70%. Even in the countries where that figure is much lower, it's still about half. So in this room, you represent millions of people in the category I'm thinking about. And yet, if you look at the country papers informing this symposium, although many make reference to lifelong learning and lifelong guidance, there are very few countries here today that actually provide much support to adults who are working, to that huge group. If we pay more attention to employed adults, we don't just affect their lives. We know that work is very important to the quality of people's lives, but we make a huge difference to our economies and to the working of our societies. Our whole economies rest on those people who are at work. And if we're not looking after them, if we're only thinking about the next generations, then we're not attending to the issues that those people are facing today. And just because they're in a job doesn't mean actually that they're okay. I meet many people who are in employment and hate their jobs, whose jobs make them ill, or whose jobs may be changing in a way that those people find it hard to keep up with. If we pay more attention to employed adults, I would like to propose to you today that that means paying much more attention to employers. We talk about the labour market as though it's an abstract thing. The labour market is thousands of employers and millions of managers inside those employing organisations making choices every day, making choices about the things Tom was talking about, how work is designed, the kinds of people they choose to employ, the way they employ them, the way they help them learn. So we can't really think about employed adults without thinking about employers. And sometimes they're seen as irrelevant by policymakers, but sometimes they're also seen as the bad guys, the evil ones. And they may do bad things, but without employers, we have no labour markets. They are the people who provide the work that people will do. So for me, they need to be thought of much more as partners than as a different category altogether that we really don't need to think about. The things I'm going to say, I think, have very big implications for the career guidance professionals who spend much of their working lives at the moment working with the young and the people who are facing severe employment difficulties. In most countries, career guidance professionals do not spend much time in the workplace, and they do not spend much of their time with working adults. See if I can get my technology to work. Thank you. Oh, okay. You can see how good I am with technology. So working life is more than just having a job. Having a job isn't enough. I have here a few examples of people who have very different experiences. I'm not going to read them all out, but the first one is a young person hopping from job to job, being a care worker, working in a pizza shop, just getting a job to keep their mother happy, really. The second one is a very highly qualified worker who has a PhD, in fact, but is still trying to decide at 40 what to do with her life. The third one is a musician whose real career is to play music, but who gets all kinds of jobs so that he can play his music. The fourth one, I think, says it for most people. I don't want to do something that is just really easy and that anyone could do, because then I won't feel as though I'm really doing much. Actually, I think I'm just going to skip this bit. What do employees say when you listen to them? People who are in work say they need a few things that they mostly don't get. They want to know what wider options there may be for someone like me, they say. They don't just want to know about all the options in the labour market. They want us to know, if you were in my position, what kinds of things would you be thinking about? So my picture there is of rivers, not of narrow paths. The second thing they say they want is someone to sit down and talk to. Now, in English, when you say you want to sit down, that means you want a cup of tea. I think it may be true in Korea also. It implies someone to take time to have a personal conversation not a negotiation, to someone who can help me think. The third thing that people say they want is the chance to do something. So my hands are a picture of the practical help that people want to access training or work or both. Sometimes they want a chance to do different things where they are now in their current job or in their current organization. That may even be a very small organization. Sometimes they do want to move into a different job, a job they might find more interesting or more satisfying. But to do either of those things, you often need that actual practical help. Usually someone who will give you the chance to show that you can do it. And our selection methods, as in many other countries, only give you the chance to do something if you've done it before. And that is an enormous problem for how people manage their working lives. If you listen to what employers say about careers, the other side of the partnership, I've got some little coding here. The green bits are things they feel quite positive about. The orange bits, not so sure. And the red bits, they are very afraid. Employers are very afraid of many things. Let's just have a little look at their mixed emotions. Employers like the idea of careers because it's how they grow skills for their business. So if they can grow careers within the business, even a small business, they are improving their skill base and they're reducing the risk of having to find recruits from outside, which in many labour markets is very difficult. Fewer employers recognise that the things that Tom was talking about, the way that jobs are designed, have a real big impact on careers. They know this to be true, but they don't think about it necessarily when they design jobs. But they do understand that from an employer point of view, this business of career development is about how we fill jobs, not just how we train people. So those of you who speak about having ministries of labour and ministries of education, both of those sides are important. Employers are terrified of talking about the future. They're frightened because they feel that they cannot make promises to people about the future. They would like to say, if you train yourself in this way, I will give you this chance. But they don't know that when that day comes, they will be able to. So they say employees manage their own careers, which is actually a very stupid thing to say, because employers hold all the power here. They say that because they feel it's very difficult to make promises into the future. But they like the fact, you can see how confused they are, they like the fact that career development is a good selling point for them. If they say, come here and I help you develop your career, they will attract good people. And we know that they engage good people. Engagement is a big fashion in HR, and with good reason. We know statistically that if people feel attached to the organisation, they will work better and you will get better business results. So having engaged workforce is really important. But then they worry that if they talk to people about careers, they might leave. That is a huge worry. So those of you who want to provide an employment service to employers, be careful. Why would they invite you in if when you talk to their people, they might go and work somewhere else? That is a real difficulty for employers. But for some groups, employers will invest enormously. They will invest for people who reach very senior jobs. They will also invest for highly skilled groups. So they do a lot of career development, but it tends to be selective for some groups more than others. Change, the issues we're speaking about in this symposium, is increasing employer interest in the next generation, So we see employers keen to work with schools and universities. They realise that those people will be important for them in a changing world. And it's also increasing their interest in diversity, in having a more varied workforce. So although change is scary, change is also helping employers think about, so what kinds of people will I need in future? But then, for most employees, employers say, speak to your manager. That's an easy thing for them to say. The manager is there. Some managers are very good at helping employees with their careers. Many are not. So the main policy of making the line manager responsible for career development is quite difficult. When employers really do support employees at work, they do all the things I referred to earlier as the things that employees say they would like. They, in particular, give people access to a much wider range of other people to speak to. People who know about them, people who know about the business. People can talk to them about their options and what they need to do. So when we really care about developing the careers of people, that's what we do. They also give them planned experiences to widen their CV and the things they can offer. And in particular, they help individuals access unusual moves, perhaps sideways into a different kind of work. So career development at work is some guidance, but it's much more than guidance. It's much more about action. In my last few minutes, I'd like to move to, so what does this reality say about the role of career professionals and the kinds of things that our symposia might discuss? First of all, I would like to suggest that we think about public services and what employers do together, not separately. It's not that employers are over here and government is over there. We need to think much more about how we work with employers together. Oh, I've done something wrong. I apologise. Could somebody just get me back to where I'm supposed to be? No? Okay. I'll leave that up there, and you can... I'll just wait while the person who knows what they're doing gets me back to the last slide. Sorry. Sorry. Wrong button. Yes, last page, thank you. Apologies. That one, sorry. Finger in wrong place. We must not forget very small employers and their employees. Many of our economies, small employers are very important, and they don't have much resource for doing this at work. As others will be saying more than me at this event, we need to give individuals the skills to manage their careers throughout life, but we need to do that at work, not just in school and in university. We need career education for grown-ups, not just career education for children. We need to change our views about what learning consists of. Learning is not just about programs and qualifications. That is too slow for many of the things we need to do today. Many companies really do understand how you learn in a job or near a job. And those of us in policy and in career guidance need to place much more attention on that kind of learning to keep up with the world. We need to be careful that when we talk about labour markets, we base what we say on fact. We don't make up ideas about career chaos, and that we don't use complex terminology. We must speak about the world of work in the language that people who are at work will use. We mustn't make up peculiar labels. It's a relief to press the right button in the last 1 minute. Finally, we need to work with our colleagues who work in the HR or personnel and training functions in businesses. Even in a fairly small business, there may be someone responsible for personnel. In a tiny business, it will be the managing director or the CEO. We need to help them understand which aspects of career theory and practice will help them make the most of their employees and the practical things they do. And we need to train those line managers. We are saying it's the line manager's job to do this, but we're not helping them play their part. So for me, and it's a very personal view, I know, the biggest role for career professionals in the future is equipping these other people who adults really do see in the workplace. We can't rely on unicorns for the career development of employed adults. Thank you.